Moving to M3 and M4, I think we're going to take those together. Mark?
With regard to our animal services, we have two components, really. We have a shelter service that we've contracted with Klein Animal Services in the Jacksonville area for, I'm guessing, about 5 years now. And then we also have an animal control service that's provided by Northeast Texas Public Health District, and you can see that on the screen here. It's been a good relationship, particularly with the Northeast Texas Public Health District, but the arrangement with Klein Animal Shelter has always been perceived as being more of a temporary arrangement until we can look at what we want to do here locally. And so this is where we're at now at this point where we've actually budgeted money in next year's half-cent program to proceed with an animal care facility here in Tyler. And so I'm going to ask David Long to walk through his Lean Six Sigma project to give you some more details about the need for this project, and then we'll talk about next steps and then what we're actually asking you to consider today. So with that, David.
Thank you, sir. Madam Mayor, Council, good morning. We started a Lean Six Sigma project earlier in the year, and we wanted to look upon improving our animal services that we provide to our citizens and to our community. And as Mr. McDaniel has stated, we always knew that by entering into these contracts that they were going to be a temporary solution while we try to determine a long-term better solution. Some of the goals that we established starting off, we wanted to be able to control our escalating cost. We wanted to ensure our cooperative oversight with the operations of both animal control and shelter. Well, we wanted to be able to address all the regulatory matters in a timely and an effective manner. We wanted to improve our accessibility of our animal services that we provide to our citizens, and we wanted to continue to build upon the quality and responsiveness of our customer service. Those were some of our primary goals that we established early on in the project. One of the first things of the information and the data that we analyzed is we actually looked at how many animals dogs and cats we impounded during fiscal year 2012. The numbers provided to us were 4,225 dogs and cats. It's estimated that the ratio of those animals was about a 65 to 35 split between dogs and cats. And you can see a little over 2,700 dogs, a little over 1,400 cats that we actually impounded during fiscal year 2012. The next thing that we had to determine is what type of facility and how large of a facility do we need to meet the minimum requirements. We looked at a lot of best practices recommendations to the size of the area, to the different sizes of the kennels that we needed for dogs and cats. And what we looked at, a minimum 10,000 square usable feet, we would be able to house at any one time 75 dogs and 50 cats, which would give us a total 125 animals would be able to be comfortably housed in this usable area at one time. All this is based on a 5-day turnaround. And to give you an idea, in order for us to be at full capacity, we would have to impound over 9,000 animals a year. And I have it broke down there to kind of, we would have to double what we're intaking now. What this does, this gives us a lot of room for our continued growth and trends that we've been monitoring. It allows us to enter into any agreements with other governments, interlocal agencies, to provide services in the area to them. And it provides a good area for growth. The next thing that I examined, I looked at our current cost, our contracts with Net Health, what we actually pay out, our shelter costs that we pay to Klein. During the 2012-2013, we paid out a little over $567,000. We also know that our contract prices are changing yearly, and we're going to experience a minimum of a 42% increase in cost to the shelter based on our current animal numbers as they go up. The way we pay our rates have changed from the last contract to this contract. The next thing that we did, we looked at other animal shelters, mostly within the state. We examined a few outside the state to kind of see some of the comparisons that we had for cost. Gives you a general idea of what we're currently paying now with our current rates. It works out to about $156 per dog and cat to what the city actually expends. Increasing our services, providing a facility of our own, we're predicting that it's going to raise our prices up just to a little over $200 per cat or dog for us to be able to provide the services. The next thing, after looking at the comparisons, we wanted to take in some additional considerations to maybe possibly generate some revenue to help offset some of these costs. We looked at various cities throughout the state. Some of the fees and things that most cities charge, impoundment fees, we'd be able to provide adoption for a fee. We have surrender fees, rabies vaccinations, looking at microchips, various miscellaneous different fees. Each city is unique to themselves and have several types of revenue that can generate. The next thing that we want to consider was our continued potential partnerships, our interlocal contracts with other jurisdictions, our educational joint ventures, as well as continuing our partnerships with public non-profit partnerships. And then we also needed to consider any possible regulatory changes that may rise between now and as years pass. The next few slides I'll let Mr. McDaniel go over.
Just to summarize, we see this as the next steps, if I could get that back up on the screen. Phase one, we really have completed with David's project of Lean Six Sigma, assessing what we're doing now and kind of what we need going forward. We did budget the capital funding, as I mentioned earlier, and now we're in phase two. We have identified potential sites, more than one. We've talked to a lot of different potential partners in the community, both other jurisdictions, the county. We've talked to the county. We've talked to nonprofits. And so now we really want to kind of hone in on a particular site or sites and perform some architectural programming and schematic design. This is basically your preliminary engineering to determine how it would function, our needs would be, and then develop a budget off of that. We want to finalize a site purchase, and then you can see there, moving on to phase three, would require that we actually confirm who our project partners are going to be through contracts and instruments like that, develop a final operating pro forma with the idea that we would probably begin operations next fiscal year, possibly sooner, but with a target of October 1 of next year, and then proceed to final design and construction here. Go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. So the things that we're asking you to consider today are, first of all, to allow me to proceed with additional due diligence with a mind or that we would have the Highway 31 property as a primary site. This is the former Creme Lure facility on 31 that's been looked at on a number of occasions. The bank now owns the building, and we think that we can negotiate a good price for it. We're still negotiating. We still haven't executed a sales contract, but that would be the next step if, after we do our due diligence, we believe that that would suit our purposes. M4 is where we actually hire an architect to do the preliminary engineering. This would be looking at programming and schematic design to make sure that facility fits our need, that it's not more than we need, that it can be renovated at a cost that's not going to be too expensive. And so that would be what we would be doing over the next 30 days, is looking at it closer. If at the end of that it doesn't look like it's going to meet our needs, then we would not purchase the property. We'd move on to another piece. But right now, that's the piece of property that we're really interested in. We like its location. It's highly visible, and we feel like that it's got a lot of pluses in terms of the acreage that's available. And I think Carter actually has a map that he could put up for you. So you see here, 31 is on the north side of this screen, and then the large building there on the right. It's got a smaller building behind it. It actually has a pond, almost 10 acres. The zoning is already allows for kennels, so it would not need any zoning change. And I think the building is right at about 20, or both of them together, right about 2,200,000 square feet. So it's a lot of building to use, perhaps even being used for other purposes. That's what we'll have the architect help us with.
Okay.
So with that, Mayor and Council, we'd be happy to answer any questions, and I really thank David for his work on this project.
Okay.